was the engine behind the war was the Messianic prophecy. What's the engine behind Christianity? The Messianic prophecy. How is Christianity presenting the Messianic prophecy? As a pacified, loving, turning of the cheek, non-vengeful. Well, sometimes he's vengeful. He kicks the money tables over. He says, I've come to bring, don't think I've come to bring peace. I've come to bring a sword. He's a mixed presentation, but mostly he's a peaceful chap who does supernatural things, but nothing very aggressively, just curing people, raising dead, spitting in people's eyes and things, making the blind see and the deaf hear, paralytics walk, and all that kind of thing that really the Mediterranean world would have loved. Asclepius too. Do you know who Asclepius was? The god of curing for the Greeks. They'd go to all these shrines and they would throw away their crutches and things and hope that Asclepius, the man god, would cure them, etc. It's all around the Mediterranean. We don't know these things, but that's just the way it was. Okay, so manuscript B is definitely messianic. They shall escape from the hour of the visitation, but the rest shall be given over to the sword with the coming of the Messiah of Aaron and Israel. He's not happy fellow, this Messiah of Aaron and Israel. And they had manuscript A. And the stars, the interpreter of the law, came to Damascus, or the interpreter of the Torah. As it is written, a star shall go forth and take the scepter to rule the world. The scepter is the prince of the whole congregation. And with his standing up, he shall utterly destroy all the sons of Seth. Standing up, or rising, or resurrection. The word is stand up in Ezekiel. And they stood up, the bones of vast and immense army. Is it resurrection? That's the way Hebrew would express resurrection. Or is it simply coming? Now, manuscript B does say coming. It isn't standing up. It says ad ba. Ba in Hebrew is coming. When the Messiah as Israel comes. This says literally standing up. Anyway, I don't know what to make of it. I asked the question at the conference last week that got them sort of worked up. I said, if you were looking at this material just without carbon testing, parameters, paleography, or so on, if you saw this Nasi Kol Ha'edah, the prince of the entire congregation, who was also a messianic person, what would you think it pertained to? And I said, you know. I said, well, what about Bar Kokhba? Now, I don't say this is from the Bar Kokhba period, but he called himself Son of the Star, a messianic appellation, and on his coinage he was called Nasi Israel. Nasi Israel doesn't mean king of Israel. It means, like it says here, sort of like ruler or prince of the entire congregation. There's a person who in his own being had both of these characteristics applied to him. What happened to Bar Kokhba? Oh, he was killed in a terrible battle in a place called Betar, outside of Bethlehem. Much worse than any of the battles of the first war. But we don't have any Josephus to tell us about it. We just know that the Roman commander did not apply the usual formula when he reported it back to the Senate. I and my army are well. He didn't say that. And later, Bar Kokhba was executed by the Romans, and I think he was brought to Rome in a victory parade. He was trying to rebuild the temple, by the way. That was one of the things Bar Kokhba was trying to do. In any case, the rabbis hate Bar Kokhba in the rabbinic literature for some reason. The only rabbi in the rabbinic literature who loves Bar Kokhba is Rabbi Akiva, who is considered the Zealot rabbi. If you've ever heard of him, he lived in this period because he applies the messianic prophecy to Bar Kokhba. And the other rabbis laugh at him according to the rabbinic testimony. And they say, Akiva, grass will grow on your grave before the Messiah comes. And Akiva is given a terrible death at the hands of the Romans. He's tortured, flailed, and pulled apart by horses, according to the Talmudic discussion of his end. So I would say that Akiva was the prophet of the Bar Kokhba uprising. Both went down in a pretty bad way. But Akiva is a favorite rabbi among the rabbis, the only zealot rabbi in the rabbinic literature. One other one is a favorite one. I have both of these rabbis in a lot of detail in my New Testament code. His name is, I think it's spelled like this. I think that's Eliezer Bar-Hyrcanus. He was considered a sympathizer to Jesus of Nazareth in the rabbinic literature. And there's some material I give in my New Testament code book about a story he heard. It's in several places in the Talmud about Jesus the Nazarene, or Jesus from Nazareth, or Jesus the Nazarene, or Jesus the Nazarene, or Jesus the Nazarite. And he heard it from a person called Jacob of Sichnin, or Jacob of Kfar Sakanya, which is a village in Galilee. Jacob, of course, is James. So he met a guy called James, or Jacob. And the story was a very funny story, which shows Jesus had a good sense of humor in this presentation. Jacob of Bar Signin, or Bar Sakanya, says that one day he met Jesus, the Nazarene, and he asked him, or someone asked him, what should you do with the wages of a prostitute given to the temple? What should you do with the wages of a prostitute given to the temple? Now we're in our prostitute imagery, you know, the New Testament Jesus sits with prostitutes and sinners and tax collectors, and all those are charged things. I think prostitutes are simple as Herodians because they were looked upon as no better than prostitutes and so on. In any case, he says, use them to build an outhouse for the high priests. Use them to build an outhouse, or use a latrine, pardon me if you prefer. Use them to build